I'm Darren with Akshon Esports, and welcome back to another installment of Akshon Recap, the show where we highlight various stories ongoing within the esports community. For our first story, after Nate Nanzer announced his team was aware of the concerns voiced by the community about the awkward broadcast schedule of Stage 1, Blizzard has recently revealed a series of changes come Stage 2. First, Stage Finals will move to Sundays at 4 p.m. ET as opposed to the end of Saturday night. This was a highly desired change as the Stage 1 Finals were played on the same day as the final day of the regular matches, resulting in the champions London Spitfire having played 14 maps throughout the day. This change will help prevent player fatigue, allow for teams to have time to strategize based on how the bracket could possibly play out, and enable the international audience to tune in without having to watch for hours on end. The more important schedule update that will affect viewership for a majority of future stages will be a change to the start of regular weekday matches to 4 p.m. PST. That's 7 p.m. EST for those on the East Coast, and Saturday games to be played at 1 p.m. PST. Initially, Blizzard wanted to have a varied schedule so that fans from various regions could have at least one day where tuning into the Overwatch League broadcast would not be too out of place, but after taking community feedback, they've decided on a more uniform schedule to make the league experience as enjoyable as possible for players, teams, and fans alike. Now, moving on to a more controversial subject of the day that has me a bit divided. On February 10th, it was reported by ESPN that former Lunatic High tank player So What was set to transfer to Dallas Fuel. This sparked speculation that the team would be dropping xQc and Coco among others as the team brings on more Korean talent. In response to the report, xQc and later on Dallas Fuel CEO Mike Castro-Rufale took to social media to denounce the report, stating that the team would not be signing So What. Following up with a more formal response, Castro posted that while Dallas Fuel had indeed been trialing So What, there was no guarantee made to the player for the position, nor formal agreement made by any of his staff verbally or contractually. Quote, "Unfortunately, Mr. Breslau decided to publicly confirm the signing without journalistic integrity or proper diligence. At this time, So What has not been signed to our roster, but is still being considered among other numerous candidates for a tank position with the Dallas Fuel." I can see where Castro is coming from if the player was still undergoing a trial, and a journalist made a supposedly inaccurate report. The organization has every right to deny the claim, and things would have settled if the journalist had simply apologized. But when someone on Twitter asked him why retweet when Castro has denied, he took a hard stance and said, "Because I'm right." Things started to turn unprofessional when Castro replied on Twitter with, quote, "I love you, Rod, but what did you smoke with your source?" On Reddit, Slasher posted, "It is my understanding that both my reporting caused the deal to fall through and that xQc made a strong commitment to Castro that he is the right choice to stand by here. Castro also wants the opportunity to show that xQc can be rehabilitated and be successful in the Overwatch League."
So Slasher said it that So What was signed to our team, but it wasn't even close. Our org leader did not even talk to fucking So What directly. He didn't even talk to him. But Slasher said, "So what? I respect my owner, dude, and like the whole org and shit. And when things like that happen, I think it's so sad. It's so fucking stupid." So the message of that is basically Slasher's a fucking cuck.
Coming to his colleague's defense, ESPN reporter Jacob Wolf stated that as far as he knew, Slasher's report was correct, as he too had verified the existence of a verbal agreement.
Yeah, so he was trying out for several different teams. A lot of the people in Contenders were interested with him. He got this verbal offer from Dallas, basically verbally accepted it, had not signed a contract yet, and then it got reported, and then it's now fallen apart after. And
additionally, he said that implying that Slasher did drugs with his source was a low blow. In retrospect, Castro could have literally done nothing, and then if So What wasn't on Fuel, Slasher would have proven to be inaccurate, and we'd move on without all this drama. On the other hand, as seen in CSGO leaks, there could be verbal agreements that make a report accurate at the time, but until the pen hits the paper, anything can happen, so every report should be taken with a grain of salt. From a business standpoint, I can see where Hastro is coming from, as it is his right to defend his brand from misinformation, but also understand that the hostility of attacking someone's journalistic integrity is a bit low. However, I believe that the crux of the problem is that while a verbal agreement was made, Slasher's wording stating that sources had confirmed the signing rather than choosing to have a more open-ended statement is where things started to get out of hand and got worse when Slasher posted on Reddit countering Hastro's statement and basically calling the CEO of Dallas Fuel a liar, something that I find to be unprofessional for a journalist and is uncalled for. If the Dallas Fuel follow through with signing So What, it will look bad on their part, as Hastro had publicly came out to deny this player's acquisition. If So What doesn't get signed to Fuel, then it seems to be implied that it could be in part due to Slasher's report, but ultimately the victim here seems to be So What, who is now caught up in this controversy. Now that you are all caught up to this news, I want to hand it off to you guys. What are your thoughts on this incident? Should Slasher have been more careful with his wording, or was the problem on Dallas Fuel's part for how they handled the situation? We'll be responding to your comments and continuing the conversation in the comment section below. Now, stepping away from all this drama, ever since joining Riot Games in 2014, following a period serving as the coach of Ninjas in Pajamas, Martin Deficio Ling has become one of the best League of Legends casters in Europe and someone whom many would consider to be the voice of the EU LCS. In a recent Facebook announcement, Deficio stated that he has stepped down from his role as a full-time EU LCS shoutcaster and instead will be moving to a more of a freelance position. Quote, "I'll continue to cast EU LCS on a regular basis, and I don't plan to move into any other games. The move to a freelancer will allow me to work as an independent consultant on a few projects I feel really passionate about." Deficio stated that things are just starting to come together and will be sharing more news once things are finalized. In the past, Riot Games has been criticized by the likes of Monte Cristo for their concerning workplace culture that had limited the freedom of their broadcast talent. It wasn't until the summer of 2017 that Riot Games allowed casters to monetize their own streams and pursue side projects as independent content producers. To what capacity Riot Games will continue to have a freelancer like Deficio on the EU LCS broadcast, and whether they decide to bring on a new full-time replacement remains to be seen. And with that, that's all for this installment of Action Recap. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to subscribe to stay up to date when more recaps drop by clicking the action icon. Otherwise, check out some of our other content. Or if you have something to say and want to join in on the conversation, join our Discord server. Links to that and everything else mentioned in this video are in the description box below. This has been Darren with Action Esports, and we'll see you in the next one.